Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you all had a wonderful week. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantal. Definitely your hostess with the mostest everything. We all know that by now, right? Yes, we do. And especially when we have the beautiful Holly Baglio in the back room, waiting to share part two of her incredible story, journey through MK Ultra, ritual abuse, and ultimately redemption. Because yes, she is. I mean, she wouldn't be here unless that were the case, right? So, if you didn't catch her part one last week, I really want to highly suggest and invite you to catch Holly's first interview, because as you all know by now, I'm sure if you've been watching my channel for a while, I like you guys to get to know the guests, although they are survivors. Um, I think the word survivor in so many ways kind of brushes over the top of what I'm of who the person really is. So I love you guys getting to know the guests. So this is why we have them on um, for a number of shows usually anyway, because it's so important, I think, to get to know the person, to get to know what makes them tick. Although many of them have experienced similar things, it's really beautiful to get to know each of them individually and for the amazing human beings that they are. And I'm just going to make one announcement. If you didn't catch Christian Litterar's show on Ara, which was premiered yesterday, Thursday, please go and catch it as well. He is a new guest, um, very much at the core of the Stranger Things um, episode based on that, basically. A Montauk survivor, super soldier, incredible story indeed. So let's support our survivors and thrivers by watching their shows. And a great big welcome to everybody. Nice to see you all here. Awesome on a Friday. So here I am, Raggedy Roo. And before Raggedy Roo brings beautiful Holly Baglio on, without any further ado, here she is.
How are you? Thank you again for having me back.
Well,
And hello to everybody in the chat room, too.
yeah, we've got the best chats, that's for sure. Nice to see you, Holly. How are you? I don't see your face. Is it just me?
You
Or can the viewers see Holly's face? Ah, there you are. You're back.
know, okay.
So
Okay.
wonderful. How are you, beautiful? How's the
I'm,
week been?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back. So, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm wonderful. Thank you. It's been a great week.
It,
Exciting
ha-
things happening. Um, Looking forward to sharing a lot of them with you guys very soon. So stay tuned. And yeah, Holly, it's been so great. Oh wow, Joanne, thank you so much. Joanne, look at you again. Mwah. Appreciate you, babe. Love you. Thank you so much. For our amazing 80 Australian dollars or 79.99 super sticker. Really appreciate you. Thank you. And yes, Holly, sorry about that. But of course, when we have amazing generosity on our shows with our viewers, always have to highlight that. So it's been so great to actually get to know you as well, because you truly are an amazing, beautiful person from the inside out. And I've loved listening to your story. And not just that, but also, the transformation you've been through. So I always wonder how it is. And I know this is not the first show you've spoken up on. But I'm wondering how it's been, since you're speaking. What's happening? What's changing in your life?
Oh, a lot's changing. So I'm really happy to be here because the last time I gave an interview was in 2021 for Tony Merkel, The Confessionals, and he kept that solely for his paying subscribers. But COVID had shut me down. So I'm happy to be back, and thank you for giving me this huge opportunity. Sadly, I had sent out 10 letters, and you were one of the 10 letters to land interviews, but Proton Mail seems to be going against me in that it will not allow me to receive incoming emails, change emails altogether. And I have 2 new ones if I can give them to you. The first one is my name, Holly Baglio, at myyahoo.com. It better be my Yahoo, and it better give me my emails. And the second one is Holly Baglio 2, the number 2, at gmail.com. So, but other than that, I'm happy to be back giving my testimony because, like I've said before, this is my way to go back for the kids. And it gives me a lot of peace and relief. And, I want to be a speaker. I want to talk about these things since I survived through them. And I'd like everybody to know what their government and militaries secretly do. Everything needs to be brought to light. So I'm hoping with my testimony, we can do something.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
I just want to check if the mods got your. I didn't get the first email. Holly, the second one is hollybaglio2 at gmail.com, right?
Yes. And the
I
first
do believe I do believe we have them baglio2 at gmail.com.
Sorry to drop that on you so fast. But
No,
yeah, anytime I go to talk about super soldiers or deep underground military bases, I'm always hitting these walls, and either my emails don't go through or somebody else's don't. But at this point, I had to change my email addresses altogether. But the one email address, to just repeat it, is Holly Baglio at myyahoo.com. So, and Holly Baglio 2 at gmail.com. So far, those seem to be working for me. But by the grace of Heavenly Abba, though, I got your email, and it was strange because you're like, my email's not going through. And I thought, but I got it. So, but it's just nice to be back giving my testimony because it's been so many years and so long. And to be honest, I really enjoy speaking. So thank you for having me again.
Well, it's definitely wonderful to have you back. And I look forward to hearing more about what you have to share with us. I want to just ask Colleen, I think you're in there and you're a mod. Won't you just pop up Holly's second email address, please? I've popped up the one. So if you can just pop up the other one, that'd be great. Thank you. Holly, and without any further ado, we want to chat to you. You had some very hectic experiences in the cages, in these projects and stuff. So maybe you can talk to us about some of the experiences you've had in there. Like you mentioned things like the Daisy game. I've heard a lot about that, right? The experiences you kids had in the cages, gene splicing that you've been part of. I know you've also been to Bohemian Grove. So maybe you can share with us what that, yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Bohemian Grove was not fun. The adults, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in. Bohemian Grove was not fun at all. I think I was around the age of 9 and around there. And when I was brought there, they made me think that I could get away with the other kids. Like if I grabbed the kids and I started to run and I got away, then I was free. And so were the other kids. And it was a mean, nasty game that they played with us. And I had thought I had made it to a house where I could call for help and get us kids out of there. But it turned out that the adults were all involved. The police were involved. Adults came out of a hidden room in the house because when I ran into the house, I went to go use the phone and I thought the phone call went through, but out of a hidden room, the adults came out and were making fun of me. But I thought that I had a chance to run away from the kids. I just had no idea that they owned the entire mountain, and that I never stood a chance. So they grabbed me and the other kids. I never saw the other kids again. But people are probably wondering why. I wonder the same thing myself. I have this other memory where I was still a young child, approximately the same age, and I was used for sex purposes. But when the adults were using me for sex, it was a double-edged sword because I was also supposed to retrieve information from them to bring it back. I guess sort of like a spy. And this priest and son, they took a liking to me. They had sexually abused me and the other children that I was sent to this event with. It was always people of extreme wealth and people of extreme power. Um, it, but anyway, this priest and son that took a liking to me, they wanted to take me home with them. And my programmer told them no, because I was a super soldier. They could not have me. I was returning back with him. So I think even through these human hunting parties, the adults had always, before they told us kids to run, they had already picked out what child was okay to snuff and what child had to be brought back alive. Although I was still hurt during the human hunting parties, but I wasn't murdered. I was still raped and abused and had to run for my life, but I wasn't murdered. But to back up a little, I was chained up in Buckingham Palace. If you don't mind, I'm just going to bounce from story to story. And if you want, just interject whenever you want. But for Buckingham Palace, they had me chained up there. And I was chained up in the dungeons at Buckingham Palace. And there was this other little girl there. And I kept asking her, what are they doing? What's going to happen to us? And I couldn't understand it. I was so scared and so frightened. But this other little girl that was chained up next to me, she was trying to help me and the other kids cope. And the other kids, they seemed even younger and smaller than me. And there was a man and woman in these dungeons, and they were the ones that would abuse us. Like one would be nice. And then if you would turn around and say, "Can I use the bathroom?" they'd beat you and yell at you. So you never knew if it was right or wrong to ask for the simplest things. I'm probably not explaining that too well, but they put the drugs in the food. And this man and woman were beating the kids and doing different things to us. When they trafficked me, this is strange because when they trafficked me to Buckingham Palace, this was the one time that I remember them having a fake passport for me. Typically, it was black operations or a programmer coming to get me, whether at home, school, or on vacation. But they had a fake passport for me. And I believe on the passport, it said Lori Renauld Schultz, October 13th, 1975. And when we boarded the commercial airliner, for the life of me, I could not understand why the stewardesses and the people that worked at the airport did not recognize I looked nothing like that man. I was not his kid or grandkid. I was absolutely terrified out of my mind. But that's how they brought me over there, was on a commercial airliner right in front of everyone. It took me many years. I was watching a combat vet give his testimony online, and he was talking about the government when they had given him a new identity or fake identity. They would always add 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day to your original birth date and then give you a new name. So that's what they had done to me as a small child. But in the human hunting parties themselves, I was still hunted and raped and beaten. It's just that I was brought back home. They had predetermined what children were to live and who were to die. The Daisy game is another example of that, I think. But Josef Mengele would get, I nicknamed him Joe the Mechanic, because if I ever had a problem, Joe would fix my wagon, and whether the problem was me or not, he'd fix my wagon so the problem never existed. So I nicknamed him Joe the Mechanic, because he was always working on me, working on my brains. He had this daisy game where he would pick a daisy, and of course it was plotted out. He knew what he was doing when he walked in to play this game with us. But as a small child, I did not know that he had a method to his madness. And there is a book I'd like to suggest. I've read part of it. I'd like to make my way through the whole thing, but Fitz Springmeier wrote a book, something to the effect of the Illuminati's hand guide, or the Illuminati's formula and hand guide to creating the ultimate MK mind control, undetectable mind control slave. So Mengele had a method to his madness. But anyway, as kids, there's a small group of kids, I'd say about 20 or 25 of us. And we were left out in the elements in a fenced-in area. No food, no water, no shelter. I think this time we did have clothes, but just like boxers and a t-shirt. And Mengele walked in to this fenced-in area where we were kept outside. And the trees were really tall, too. They were different than the trees I was always used to. So we were not in New Jersey, USA, that's for sure. But he walked in and he had a daisy in his hand. And he'd pull off a petal and he'd say, "He loves me." And then he'd pull off another petal and he'd say, "He loves me not." He'd pull off a third petal and say, "He loves me." And Mengele would go on and on with every petal until he got to the last one. And this one time, there was one petal left, and he picked it, and he goes, "He loves me not." And Mengele's looking at me. And then Mengele starts walking straight to me. All the kids see him walking straight to me, looking straight to me, and my time is apparently up. And just before he takes his second to last step to bend over and grab me, he turns hard left, takes his last step, grabs a child next to me, grabs that child, picks the child up, and starts marching the child up in front of us. And as he's walking this child to the front of us, I just remember looking at this child square in the eyes and thinking, that should have been me. That should have been me. That should have been me. And that child was looking straight back at me too, because it should have been me, not not them. But my memory goes blank. So I don't know what happens after that. I don't know if I stayed seated and just took it or if I jumped up and ran to the front. But my memory goes black at that point. But Mengele mutilated that child to death. And that was the type of games that Mengele would play with us. Some of the games that we would have to play, he would take us kids and dress us up as different characters. And we would have to act out different storylines, like different fairy tales. And at the end, there was always going to be a child that was going to be sacrificed. And there was always sex involved in these games. Special liking for the little boys. So he'd rape the little boys, and then he'd make us other little kids watch and then egg him on and say how great Mengele was and how the little boy wanted it and how dirty and rotten the little boy was, but how wonderful Mengele is. And he'd have the other kids join in, and he would not just rape one kid, he'd rape them all right down the line, including me. And all of us were subject to watch and to an extent involve ourselves to chant these good things, to, puff up his ego, to puff up Mengele's ego. He was a sorcerer, so he was very satanic in everything he did. That's why it's hard for me to explain things, because he was a sorcerer. So when he was doing his human experimentation, as well as electrocuting us, he was also involving satanic rituals, sex rituals, and satanic sacrifices in that. There was another time when Mengele, I made a drawing of it. We were in this room with the cages 3 stacked high, and it lined the walls. And in the center of the room was a table, and Mengele would just electrocute us over and over again. This one time it was so bad. I remember a little boy next to me in a cage started to talk to me. He said something. And I said, "We'll be lucky when we die." And it hurt so bad that at that moment I gave up to live. Inside my head, I was under the age of 10. I was a small child, like 5, 6, 7. But inside my head, I had determined that it was hurting me a lot more to go through the electrocution than it would hurt my grandparents to find out that I died. But Mengele would go around, he'd electrocute us, go around to a different cage, take a child out, put the child on the table, and mutilate the child to death. Sometimes he had other programmers with him, and sometimes he was alone. This one time, it seemed like he murdered almost every single child in that room except me and the other little boy. He loved what he did. So Russia, during Ronald Reagan's era, we as kids, a small group of kids were sent over to Russia, I guess, to improve Russian and American relations. Part of that was, I think, us kids were to retrieve information and bring it back to US, UK, or Canada's governments. But over in Russia, I remember the adult men passing us children around. And I believe they had us on drugs because in my memories, it seems like I was on drugs because I was really woozy. But at the very end, there was a man, one of the men there, and he was involved with hurting and raping the kids. But when I was passed to him, because I was being passed around, when I was passed to him and he got a hold of me, he was actually very gentle with me, and I saw kindness in his eyes, and he wasn't like the rest of the men there that just were so brutal. He was actually a little bit gentler and didn't hurt as bad as the others. So I'm trying to think if I can explain some. Sorry. I've got more memories.
I'm just saying, I mean, sorry, I just want, we carry on.
Okay, I'm sorry. But I guess
we've got a lag. We've got a lag. The internet's bad. That's why I'm letting you talk. I can see that the internet again is not good. My whole area has been having internet problems for a while. So I can see tonight it's not great. So I'm rather just letting you talk, which is why I'm hearing you. But please just carry on.
What's going on? Are we okay? We're here. I think there's a lag on my part too, so I apologize. I'm trying to think back to some of the pictures that I sent you, such as, all right, okay. And
just
another
a minute. Let me. Shall I put some of these up? Let me just.
If you want to, you can. If you want, I could throw them up as I talk about them. I only pulled them up on my computer now to try to refresh my memory because I started to draw blanks and I didn't mean to do that. So whichever is convenient. That one, that's another memory where I remember the programmer, he had the electrodes all over my body and also on my genitalia, and he kept shocking me, and it seemed like he turned the buttons all the way up and shocked me to the fullest extent a person could be shocked. I don't think it was Mengele. That was the programmer shocking me that time. I have another memory where I remember a few of us kids were kept outside in cages, and we were chained up to the cages, so we couldn't move. And I remember telling the other little kids, don't touch anything. Keep your fingers and toes separated. Don't touch anything, and try to keep as much oxygen in your lungs as possible. When the programmer came out, he just electrocuted us over and over and over again. You could not even catch your breath. He just kept electrocuting us. And if he stopped, he'd give it a few moments and then electrocute us up, again. But also, because my memory's distorted, in between the electrocutions, I do not remember everything that was done to me and the other children, because these programmers were electrocuting me, so I'd leave my body, and then what was left over was the altar that they would program, and they would put different skill sets into me. You can program someone's mind sort of like you program a computer. The programmer would use certain code words, colors, smells, hand gestures, to lock that altar up or to bring that altar forward. So my memory is choppy, but as time goes on, the memories do get clearer. The electric shock does wear off, and you do get your memories back. Your memories never stay away permanently when you're electrocuted. Even electroshock patients that go into mental wards into our hospital, their memories do come back after a certain amount of time. So, which is good because I want my full memories back. let's see. I remember, did I tell you about I told you about the witch and the jars on the wall. We
Is it
were up,
this?
let's see, that's Buckingham Palace. That's when they had the fake
Okay, shall I take?
passport. Sorry.
I just want to. Shall I just go with the photos? Shall just you can maybe you want to just explain the photos each, and then
Sure.
as you've explained them, I'll just carry on to the next one. There's a couple. There's sorry, these aren't photos. These are drawings. I beg your
It's okay.
pardon. So maybe
So
yeah, you want to explain each of the pictures, and when it's done, you can just tell me when to move on. Yeah.
sounds good. So the drawing that you have up now is the man in Buckingham Palace that trafficked me and had a fake passport for me. But I guess he was one of the programmers as well. And when I was over at Buckingham Palace, that was the first human hunting party I was put through. The second one was Castle Amaro, or Amaro, that people call the Mothers of Darkness Castle. And when I was put through the human hunting party there, that's when I don't have a drawing for this story that I'm telling you. But when I was there is when I learned what a sacrifice was. Uh, a small group of kids, we were taken over to Castle Amaro and we were tortured and traumatized. My memory is choppy. When they were finished putting us through all of that, the witches chose a child from among us. And I remember the witches walking from the castle across the yard to another building. And they were dressed in certain attire with certain colors, and they had certain objects in their hand. And they walked into a building. And I guess that building is what George Bush Sr. means when he talks about 1,000 points of light. And the witches chose a child from among us, and they took the child into that building and left the rest of us kids outside. And I remember saying to another little child, why did they choose him? Why is he so lucky? And the other little child said something like, a sacrifice is not good. A sacrifice means they're going to kill him. I was like, oh, I don't want to be a sacrifice then. I thought it was good. But I was a little kid. I did not know those things. All right. Do you want to move to the next drawing? Sorry. That one, I think that was in Texas somewhere. That one, they had a warehouse filled. It looked like if you ever go to like a super center Walmart, if you take out the rows of items to buy and replace it with cages, this warehouse looking thing was just filled with cages. And there were about 5 to 10 kids in each cage. And the programmers there electrocuted us. And they kept doing it over and over again. I guess they were looking for something. I'm not sure. But all the other cages got quiet. There were only a couple of cages throughout that entire warehouse that still had a couple of kids still alive. And one of the cages was my cage. And there was a little boy next to me that put his hand on mine and he said, Holly, bow your head like the Egyptians do. Because then all of a sudden, for lack of better terms, this T-Rex looking dinosaur came down the aisle. I may have already told you this story in the last segment. I think it was from Queen Elizabeth's clan, if not her. And that's the drawing that I made of it. In the drawing, you can see where that T-Rex looking dinosaur had taken me into other room that had a half wall, half glass, and raped me. And then it proceeded to go out and take each child that was still living one by one into that room, rape them, beat them until it was finished. And that was our programming. I know my memory is kind of choppy, but if you want to switch to the next drawing. That one's of the Skinner boxes. I remember them putting, I don't know what you really call it, but for lack of better terms, I remember the programmers putting on another little girl this Skinner box. They put it on her head, and there were different doors, so they could open up a door and just look at her ear, and it looked like they were deforming her, or like cutting her face and doing different things to her, like pouring hot wax in there and then putting bugs inside the Skinner box. They put me in a Skinner box and left me there inside this box with all of these different snakes slithering around. I do not know how long they left me in that, but it felt like I was buried alive. My mind broke down. I was so scared that my mind broke down. Once they put me in that box, I don't really remember anything after that. When I was a little kid, in the drawing, you'll see I tried to make playpens. And as small kids, we'd be put in these playpens with different kinds of animals, really large snakes, or these overgrown wolves. We'd be put in these playpens with these 3 monkeys, and each monkey had a different terrible habit. One monkey liked to eat your flesh, another monkey liked to punch you, and they'd put us in these playpens with these different animals and program us with these animals. So it was not fun. I think that was in Nelson, Canada. But anyway,
What do you mean they programmed? What do you mean they programmed you with the animals? I mean, I don't understand. Did they use their consciousness, your consciousness? How did that work?
good question. I think we were supposed to, I think they put us in with the animals so we would take on the characteristics of that animal, if that makes sense.
Wow, it does make sense, because it's almost like, as you say, eating your flesh, sort of it's, and primates are 99% human gene.
Yeah.
So it's a very close thing, and that's why I'm saying it's interesting to to ascertain what they were actually doing with the apes, chimps, gorillas, monkeys, whatever they were, whatever the primates were, right? Wow.
Right. And
Crazy.
at times when we were in these projects or in these playpens, sometimes in some memories, it seemed like they had electrodes on me and were watching what was happening to like my heart and my vitals on a computer screen. And they mapped our minds. Like they had our minds connected to the computers. But it seemed like in some of my memories, some of the programmers were watching us and monitoring us to see what we were doing while in the playpen with these animals and what was happening, like with our bodies and our heart rates. So, but that's just what I remember from being there. So it's kind of hard.
What I'm interested, especially with that, and if you can, and if you don't mind, if you recall, what was your reaction with the primates when you were having those primates in the cage with you? And they were, sorry, you said the one ate flesh, the other one punched, and the other one did what?
I forget what the third one did.
Okay.
There was another little boy with me, and he was helping me with the monkeys, because the one monkey was beating on me. I guess they were attacking me, and another little boy stepped in to try to protect me, because he was a little bit bigger. He's a lot bigger than I am. I'm kind of small, and he was able to get these monkeys to back off and leave me alone. Being in the playpens with the snakes, I lost my mind. I hated it. I couldn't deal with it. The wolves, the dogs were not too bad, because at least they were fuzzy. And as long as I remained calm and I didn't look at them in the eyes, I was fine. So I didn't, the dogs didn't scare me as much as the other animals did. So,
Wow. I mean, what an insane bunch of lunatics. I have no, honestly, seriously, there's a special place in hell for these people, whatever they are. Wow.
Yeah.
Shall I move on to the next?
Oh, sure. Yes. That is the man and woman from Buckingham Palace. And I'm the second one in, I think, from the left, chained to the floor. But the girl in the corner of the drawing, that was the girl that was trying to help me figure out what was happening. I was having such a hard time with the fact that I was there, we were being abused, and nobody was coming to get us. And yeah, so that's from Buckingham Palace, and the drugs are in the food. They tortured the kids. And Lori at top is just the name of the altar. That's all. But all right, if you want to switch drawings. That's a drawing where that's the memory where I was telling the kids, keep your fingers and toes separated. Don't touch anything, because you'll melt together. Keep your fingers and toes separated and try to keep as much oxygen in your lungs as you can. And that white lab coat was just electrocuting us over and over. But we were kept outside in cages that time. So if you want to flip drawings, please. I'm not a good artist. Oh, Montauk. In Montauk, they had this room where with the cages 3 stacked high, and the cages were different because I think you only got like a peephole. And everything else was all closed in. And there was a bunch of us kids kept in the cages and a white lab coat. Me and one of the other larger kids tricked the white lab coat. And I'm not sure what we did, but we tricked the white lab coat, wound up beating him and chaining him up or putting him in a cage. And I said to the other kid, let's get the other kids out of the cages. So me and this other little boy, we had about 4 or 5 other kids with us. We tried to make it, we tricked the lab coat to escape. And we tried to make it through the tunnels. But once me and the larger boy that helped me, because he almost looked like an adult, but yet he was a child, so he was stronger. Anyway, we made it through the tunnels, and he climbed up this ladder to get the cover off, and he was able to get the cover off. And me and him were able to help the other kids get up this ladder. We got to the surface of the earth. And when we made it out to the parking lot in Montauk, we were We were not banking on it being sunlight. And whatever drugs that they had put in our system, it did not react very well with sunlight because we had trouble running. There was a fence out in the parking lot, and us kids would have had to scale this fence to get away from Montauk. But we couldn't even walk, let alone scale a fence. And with it being broad daylight, the other programmers in Montauk, they came out, saw us, grabbed us, and then brought us back down into the tunnels and continued programming us. There was another memory at Montauk where I was in the chair and I woke up from my altar. So it was my core raw personality, but I woke up and I was in the Montauk chair and there were these different tubes coming out of me, like in my vein, in my arms and in my torso. And when I looked over at the programmer or the other person sitting at that desk, he ignored me. He just kept writing on his little clipboard. And I got up from the chair and I wobbled over to the door. And I remember seeing people passing by the room I was in. And I kept trying to scream, help. Nothing would come out except for help, a whisper. And people just kept passing by me like it was no big deal. Nothing was going on. And like I didn't even exist. So, sorry. And then my memory cuts out again. If you want to change the drawing. It's a little bit frustrating that I just have little spurts, but fragments.
I think you're doing great. You're doing great. And I think we all understand that obviously they are. And I'm loving these pictures because if you guys have listened to Christian's interview this week as well, he speaks about Montauk and the cages there and kids hanging dead in cages and being beaten up by men in butterfly masks. I mean, it is just the most shocking thing for me to think that grown men do this to 8-year-old kids. And I mean, anyone, I mean, wow. Anyway, so it's interesting. Sorry, were you finished with the other picture? I'm just battling with the internet, so I'm just going by what I'm thinking. Were you finished with the other picture, or did you? Or are we good? This is the last one.
Yeah, I think that I'm done. I think I told you that memory with Josef Mengele already when he was picking different kids from different cages. So.
Wow.
So that's the last drawing I gave you. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think you got most of them. I think I sent you most of them. I may have missed one or two drawings, but no, yeah, that's all I had. The only other one I had was, I'm sorry.
This internet is so bad right now. So I hear every second or third word. I feel like a bit of a dance because I'm not even responding properly to you. But I would rather have your voice being heard and just your story. But I know that we do have more pictures, and I would love for us to go further into that with them on our next show as well, because these pictures are so fascinating. When you remember, and I think that must be such a good way to also recall your memories. It just occurs to me, right? When you're drawing the pictures and you recalling that, and then things start surfacing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I have problems all the time when I go to give my testimony. So it's no surprise that you're having problems with your internet connection and only picking up every other word that I say. If you want to adjourn it here and maybe pick up next week when our connections are better, I completely understand. So
Yeah, that's all good. And it's interesting because it's certain shows that it's bad on. Like on Wednesday, for example, with Jesse's second show, I couldn't even get on. When I came on, it would like literally kick me off. And if I stayed, it was 3 times worse than what I'm hearing you now. But with a lot of other shows, I can hear it's all good. So I of course am complaining to my internet company, and they keep telling me it's the area. I know there is problems in the area though, but it's never been this bad for the longest time. So I just want to let all you guys know I'm doing what I can. I am aware that there is possibly an internet issue, yeah, or it could just be the distorted field that doesn't really want us broadcasting right now, but that ain't gonna last long. We'll sort out this ham very quickly.
Yes. Yes.
Holly, it's absolutely, as always, fascinating speaking to you. And I know I'm definitely going to listen to this again because on the replay, I hear, then there's not a problem. But it never it I always end off my shows with survivors like yourself. When I say it never ceases to amaze me the horrors that you guys have been through, and how you've made it through it. I cannot begin to imagine what that must be like, and I can only just honor you for the resilience of your spirit, and for coming to tell your story. And I know it's not always easy. It is healing. I get that, very healing, but it's not easy to relive those moments. So we really appreciate you, Holly, Holly, Holly. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for today. And I look forward to talking to you again. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. And again, Joanne, I appreciate your sticker very much. Really great. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. And as always, please like, share, subscribe. That's how we keep our algorithms up. This channel has a way of attracting the shadow banners. Of course, we try and avoid that as much as what we can. And just by liking, sharing, commenting, you keep the algorithm up. So that's how you can help get our stories out there as well. Really appreciate you all. Happy Friday, happy weekend, happy Saturday. I will see you guys Sunday with the Sunday loop. We've got, again, some of our survivors. It will be Lisa Meister and Jessie DeBotar talking, and then Cindy as well, who we heard from last week. These are earlier survivors that I interviewed right at the beginning of the channel. So please, again, show them your support just by hearing their story and listening. Just listening is honoring every survivor. You don't have to like their face. You don't have to agree with their belief system, but listening and just acknowledging that you've heard and you believe, that's where the healing lies. So thank you, guys. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. And of course, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the whole of next week again. Look forward, Nolly. We will see you again next week, Saturday. And
Yes.
appreciate you very much. And everybody, God bless you all. Live your life like it's golden and just stay safe on those spiritual streets out there.